I made over $38 million online, but I started just like everybody else, broke, guessing, and grinding. What changed? I stopped thinking like a $1 entrepreneur and I started acting like a $1 million entrepreneur. These 12 mindset and execution shifts are exactly what separates those who stay stuck from those who get rich. If you're not where you want to be, this is what's holding you back. The $1 entrepreneur picks ideas based on feelings, and the $1 million entrepreneur picks ideas based on advantages. If you don't have an advantage, how do you expect to win? The first 3 businesses I started, I had no idea what I was doing. And I just really picked the first idea that came to mind that I was kind of thinking about for a few months. That first business was an app and I had no coding experience. I just wanted to start it and obviously didn't work out. The second business, then I learned how to code and make an app. But again, I wasn't the best programmer out there. I wanted to just build another app because that's what successful and rich people did. They were starting all these tech startups when I was in college and it ended up not working out again. The third business, I started a clothing and fashion brand, which again, I didn't really have any special skills when it came to designing clothes or fashion. And the final thing that I ended up starting that worked was an in-person trading education class. Now, I was a day trader successfully in college and out of college. And so because of that, I knew exactly what the market needed. I knew what I wanted from a customer. I knew I could offer something better than what other people were offering because of my domain expertise in trading. In hindsight, I could have saved a lot of years had I just done something where I had some sort of advantage. So if you're looking to start a business today, think about where you have an unfair advantage. It doesn't even mean you have to be an expert, but what problem are you trying to solve that you truly understand? Maybe because you deal with this problem on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, but you want to use that as a starting point and then let that shape your business ideas. The $1 entrepreneur treats this as a side hustle and the $1 million entrepreneur jumps straight into the deep end. Every successful entrepreneur I know works 7 days a week. And this is especially more pertinent in the early days because that's when things are the hardest and you don't know what you're doing. 90% of entrepreneurs don't make it. And so what do you think the other 10% are doing? They probably aren't working 40 hours a week from between 9 to 5. They're going all in to figure it out. And once you do that, you build systems, you hire right people, sure, you can take your foot off the gas. But in those early days, it is the key differentiator. And one of the biggest things I noticed is too many entrepreneurs, they try and chase balance and there won't be any balance in the early days. Entrepreneurship is hard and it's like banging your head against a wall every single day. Your pain tolerance has to be a lot higher than the average person. And what you have to understand is this early stage sacrifice will create long-term freedom. The $1 entrepreneur only gives themselves 12 months. The $1 million entrepreneur says, I'm gonna do whatever it takes, no matter how long it takes. Most people set arbitrary timelines, and then when they don't hit it, they fall short and then they quit and they say, it's not for me. Maybe you do get it to work in 12 months, but what if it takes you 24 months or 36 months? If I had just given myself a timeline of just 1 or 2 businesses, I would have failed. I literally failed my first 3 businesses and that took like 6 years. And maybe I'm a little slow and it took me a while to crack it. But regardless of what it is, had I set a timeline, I would not be here today. And the reason why you don't want to set yourself a timeline is because you learn something every single time. And eventually you have enough compounding where you build enough momentum in business where you're successful. But it's like drinking from a water hose in the early days. There's so much to learn. You're gonna make so many mistakes that for those first few years, it's gonna look like you have no idea what you're doing and you should probably quit. And then one day it just clicks. It happens. All the mistakes, etc., you get better. But people only see this. They don't see the years behind the scenes of you just waking up every single day and getting at it. So instead of creating artificial deadlines, commit to a life of mastery. The $1 entrepreneur has no real self-belief, and the $1 million entrepreneur could literally pass a lie detector test. Even after I failed my 3rd business after college, I looked like a complete failure and I basically went through all of my savings and money and I moved back home with my parents, I literally still believed I was gonna make the 4th business work. It's the only reason why I started another business. And so if you feel like you wanna give up and all these things, I can promise you, every entrepreneur has gone through that point of the lowest low where they thought they should give up and they just didn't. The mindset I had living out with my parents was, I am so close. I'm almost there. And it's this simple mindset shift that will allow you to really, really get this delusional self-belief. Something has to keep you going when everything else is going wrong. And I genuinely believe when I hit rock bottom and you put a lie detector test on me and you asked me, are you gonna be successful in business? I would have said yes and passed that lie detector test. That's how confident I was still in myself. And that's why you wanna work on not just building surface level confidence. You really wanna internalize. Every single day you wake up, every day you look in the mirror, the thoughts you have going on in your mind behind the scenes is, I'm gonna figure this out, I'm gonna be successful. Because eventually it will turn into reality. And you can build the self-belief by just winning small. You saying you're gonna go work Saturday and Sunday and work 12 hours a day in your business for the weekend, did you do it? Or did you sit down and watch TV? You don't see it yet on the output, but what are the inputs you're doing on a daily basis? Because if you know you're putting in the work, if you know you're getting better every day, then that's what's gonna actually build that positive belief and self-affirmation. The $1 entrepreneur gives up at the first sign of failure, and the $1 million entrepreneur keeps going no matter what. In business, every single day, you're gonna deal with rejection and with failure. Someone's not gonna like your product. You're gonna get an angry customer. You're going to have someone build a website for you and it's gonna turn out horrible and they're not gonna give you your money back or fix it. Rejection is common, but tolerance to rejection is rare. Understanding failure are just learning points is how you start to get good at business. And when you can train yourself to not take things personal, that's how you build an edge and become a $1 million entrepreneur. Failure isn't final, quitting is. The $1 entrepreneur tries to figure things out on their own, and the $1 million entrepreneur finds mentors, pays for proximity, and upgrades their circle. So when my business started to make some money, when I was living back home with my parents, I saved about 40 grand in my bank account. And I spent 36 of that 40 grand and I invested it into a mentor. I joined his mastermind. He was in the exact niche of online education. And I was like, this is what I need to learn. And I'm just gonna go all in because this person can take me from being stuck at 30K a month in my business to get to 6 figures a month. That was probably one of the best business decisions I've ever made in my business, because of a few things. One, I learned from someone who has already done it. This guy was doing multi 6 figures a month. So I was like, okay, if I just find out what he's doing, I'm gonna be able to make my money back pretty fast. Number two, I joined a room of other entrepreneurs who were also trying to learn the same things as me. But I met people who were doing more than me. I met people who were doing 100, 200, 300K a month. And after talking to them, I was like, what the heck? They're no different than me. I thought they were gonna be smarter than me or have more experience, and they weren't. In fact, I was actually smarter than a lot of the people I met. So that gave me the confidence to realize that maybe I can do this. Maybe I can go from 30K a month to 100K a month. The right environment is gonna reprogram your baseline standard and it's gonna make you work harder, right? Because I was also more competitive being in that room. And I wanted to come back every 3 months for this to show people, hey, I'm actually making progress. And one of the biggest things I can emphasize to you is to find people who have what you want and pay them to learn it. Stop trying to figure it out on your own. The right proximity, the right mentor could be that one unlock in actually getting your business to go from $1 to actually getting a ton of customers in the door. The $1 entrepreneur tries to copy, and the $1 million entrepreneur creates strategic differentiation. Most new businesses I see, they try and just copy some business in their niche. And sure, maybe that works for a little bit, but it's not gonna work in a long enough time period. And I went through the same exact thing. It was easy just to copy what my competitors were doing. I did that. And I got a little bit of traction, but nothing crazy. Why would they buy from me if they look at my competitor who's been around longer, who's doing the exact same thing since I copied it? So I was like, okay, what is everybody doing? And how can I make a different angle or unique take on how I'm gonna be different from all of these competitors? Sometimes it's nothing insane. For example, there was a huge corporation that was also teaching in-person trading education. So what did I do? I said, this is a father and son family education business. And we don't want 100 people in our classrooms. We just want to teach a handful of people who are genuinely serious. And that resonated more with people who are like, I'd rather just learn from these 2 people how to trade versus learn from this corporation that who knows who's teaching me? Maybe it's some random instructor they hired off the street. By doing something as simple as that, you're gonna have much more success in business. The $1 entrepreneur is ruled by ego, and the $1 million entrepreneur builds culture, builds loyalty, and develops emotional intelligence. Early on, when the business was finally starting to build traction, my ego got the best of me. I was a young 23-year-old kid managing people twice my age. I did not have the EQ to support. When someone made a mistake, I got angry, and a key team member quit. It really devastated me because I was like, wait, nobody's gonna wanna work for me because I'm just yelling at people, I'm getting mad, and I'm not actually coaching them and being a good leader or manager. And so what ended up happening was it was a traumatic enough event for me where I actually called this person up. I apologized, came up with the game plan in terms of what I'm going to be doing differently. That was my big fundamental shift in terms of I was not going to be this person no longer. And by developing this emotional intelligence, I was able to build a strong culture and build loyal people who wanted to stay and work for a long amount of time. I helped coach them when they made mistakes. We spoke about it, we collaborated. Good culture only comes when people feel seen, when they feel heard, and when they feel respected. And if you want to upgrade your EQ, you need to constantly be asking your team for feedback. How can you support them better? And what else do they need in order for them to be successful? The $1 entrepreneur micromanages everything, and the $1 million entrepreneur learns how to replace themselves with systems and people. You have to constantly think about what you are currently working on that is highest leverage, and anything that's not high leverage that you believe you can train someone pretty fast, you should just hire them and train them on it. But what you need to be doing is you need to document all the tasks you're doing. Then you need to separate them into buckets. What's high leverage, what's important for you to work on, and what's not as important that you can just delegate. Then you hire somebody, train them because you built the systems on all of the repeatable tasks that they have to do that's easy for you to offload. And then you double your time and effort into all the things that you should be doing in order to grow the business. The $1 entrepreneur solves everything manually, and the $1 million entrepreneur thinks in code, systems, and people. In the early days, all the problems I was solving was very reactive. Anytime there was a fire, anytime something came up, I was then jump onto it. And I realized over time that this was not sustainable. And so I had to actually build systems that allowed me to solve problems proactively. When you solve problems reactively, you're looking at the outputs. Oh shoot, this KPI is down, or we're missing numbers here. What's going on? That's when you can start tracking numbers by looking at things based on the input. Are you looking every single day at the person who's closing the deals for you, that they are doing enough follow-ups and that they are calling enough people? And it will allow you to catch things as simple as that much earlier than waiting for it to blow up. And you can do that across your entire business. The biggest mindset you need to have is thinking in leverage. And I know there's a lot of this hustle culture going on, and don't get me wrong, you do have to work really hard. But I also know a lot of entrepreneurs who work really hard who can't grow their businesses. The two easiest forms of leverage you can do is either people or systems. And now with AI, with all the tech we have access to, you can automate a lot of things that people had to do manually in the past. So anytime you catch yourself having to solve a problem in your business more than 2 or 3 times, you should be thinking, how can I build a system to solve this for good versus have to constantly jumping back in. The $1 entrepreneur picks co-founders based on who they think is smart, and the $1 million entrepreneur picks co-founders based on values. Early on, when I had no idea what I was doing in business, I partnered with co-founders who either did not share the same vision, they had a much worse work ethic than me. We didn't share similar core values in terms of how we thought, how we operated. And I'm not saying you need to find someone exactly who thinks like you or has your experience, but you guys have to share the same core values. If one person thinks that this is going to be an 80-hour-a-week role and is willing to sacrifice everything, and the other person is still at a full-time job and working on this only at nights, that's a values misalignment. If one person thinks that this feature and this product is the best thing to build early on, and this person actually disagrees and thinks it's a different product and value prop and customer they're serving, there's also a value misalignment. You guys don't see the same vision. Picking a co-founder is literally like getting married, except when you get married, hopefully you're dating for a few years, versus when people pick a co-founder, they pick someone within a month. You wouldn't do that when you find your significant other. Why would you do that in business? This is probably one of the biggest reasons why people don't get their business off the ground, is because they're stuck in a toxic relationship. If you are going to pick a co-founder, one, spend enough time vetting this person, making sure that you guys actually share the same vision, same values. The second thing is make sure you guys have complementary skill sets. You don't want someone who has the exact same background and experience and skill as you, because then you guys can't divide and conquer and work on different areas of the business, right? If someone's good at sales and marketing, find someone who's more technical to build out the product. The $1 entrepreneur spends emotionally, and the $1 million entrepreneur allocates capital like a CFO. In the early days of the business, it is very enticing to spend money on the really nice website, to get the nice office, to have all these random perks or whatever it may be. And for me, from making those mistakes myself, I actually just learned and did the exact opposite, which was I lived at home with my parents until I became a liquid millionaire. And so most early businesses, what I find between the $1 entrepreneurs, they don't know their data. They don't know how much they're spending on a monthly basis. You should know like the back of your hand, especially in the early days, what you're spending on, what your profit margins are on, how you're getting customers, and all of the data that goes into running your business. And it's not that complex because you should not have a million different things that you're paying for, because the only things that you should be paying for are absolute necessities to either fulfill on your product and customer, or you're spending on acquiring more customers. And what I've realized is some of these businesses that I knew early on when I started as well, they would start to pick up traction and they'd grow and they get the nice office, etc. Meanwhile, I'm still looking at my parents saving up cash in the business. And so when that rainy day inevitably happens, guess what? They have to shut down the whole business because there wasn't enough cash in the bank. So cash flow management is everything in business, whether it's in the early days or even now for me, I monitor the cash and finances like a hawk. And so if you want to be able to do this successfully, you need to be reviewing your finances on a weekly basis or minimum monthly. But early on, I think I did it on a weekly basis. And I would make sure that every single dollar that was spent actually had some true ROI to it versus just feel good stuff. Even when you hire a CFO, you should probably know your finances just as good as them. And by doing this, you're gonna be able to protect your business, you're gonna be able to scale your business because you're actually spending on the right things, and it's gonna protect your time, peace of mind, and leverage. And in the case of a rainy day, you're gonna be able to make it through. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. I made another video that talks about how I work 4 hours a day building the right systems in my business so that you can do the same and really scale your business to the next level.